Right then, it's that time of year again. So we are back to Major Pickems once more. And so, of course, stage one, that's going to be what's going on today. And I mean, right now you can see it's probably quite dark in here. So if you're going to ask why it's so dark, it's because I can't change what time it is. I only have free time now, so this is the time. Also, if I turn on the light, like any brighter, then for some reason it just reflects off of my face. I think the webcam's too low of quality to not turn me into like an embodiment of the sun, essentially, if I turn it on any brighter. So it's gonna have to sit like this for the rest of this today. So hey, suck it up and we'll get into this. So I usually say that stage one is one of the hardest because it's full of the teams that we don't often see. It's full of the teams and the names we don't often get to talk about. So we don't always have the kind of in-depth knowledge of, how well they play against different teams in stage one compared to whereas we got stage two and stage three where you got better teams nonetheless and we see much more of them so we can have a better developed kind of understanding of how well they're most likely to do. But stage one, the hardest. So I think rather than starting with the like three picks, the ones that will go into stage two, I think it should be fairly simple to be going into the own three bracket instead, quite frankly. So unfortunately, this is where I'm going to put the majority of the Asian teams. This is going to be Rare Atom and the Huns. So Rare Atom's not even really like what the second, it's probably the third best team in China. Like you can't even say a whole lot about it, but because it's just there as the third best, it can still get into the VRS kind of point where they can qualify for the major. But they are still one of the worst teams. I mean, we always know that the Asia region is one of the weakest, except for of course the Mongols, but what's good? I mean, we can't even say that anymore, depending on how well Controllers does. So Rare Atom are kind of bottom of the barrel when it comes to Chinese CS. And we've got Lim Vision here as well, but there is no doubt in my mind, any day of the week, Lim Vision, if they were to take on a Rare Atom, they would stomp them. And that's kind of the case for most of the rest of the teams at least. So with Rare Atom, I mean, when they do get into tier one, it's not very often, but if they do just about manage to get into the bubble of invite range, they usually bomb the fuck out. So I think it was Fisher 1 they were a part of, and they got absolutely stomped in that. So I mean, just the few times of the year we do get to see them, they're quite frankly atrocious. So I'm not even going to reconsider it. So Own 3 is where I'll put Rare Atom at least. But the Huns, on the other hand, second best team in Mongolia. Of course, the first is the Mongols. Surprise, surprise. But it's still a team we don't get to see a whole lot of. I know that they do qualify to some bounties, blast bounties, some I think we see them at Pro League sometimes, but it is nothing special once again. It's just bottom of the barrel. It's kind of who's worse in the scenario of who's who's the could the worst teams in NA beat out the worst in Asia? And I think quite frankly, the likes of Red Candids, Fluxo, Imperial, NRG, they could on any given day beat out the Huns, especially in a better one scenario. I just feel like there isn't a chance. So right now, bare bones at the bottom of the table, it is going to have to be Own 3, Rare Atom, and the Huns, and there isn't a whole lot of doubt in my mind about it. So that's where I'll leave them. Now, this is kind of where I start having to make a ranking pretty much to see who will be making it to the 3-1 and the 3-2 pool. So I think the easiest place to start is it's probably going to have to be FaZe, realistically, because whenever it comes to best of ones, and especially in a tournament like this, where you're in stage one, you're going against very poor teams to what FaZe are like pretty much used to going against, such as I mean we saw them against Spirit a few weeks ago at Pro League where they just like somehow demolished them. Okay, maybe demolished is a bit harsh, but it was a good series that they did do very well in, and so they go against Spirit and they win that, but then every single other team, it feels like the lower you go down, the more unpredictable FaZe get. FaZe are more consistent, I feel like, at the high levels. Even saying that, FaZe are really inconsistent. So if you're going to bring down to here, I mean, the other week they lost a foot in a best of one. it was like 13-8 or something like that. It was pathetic. And so looking at the vast majority of these teams, FaZe in a best of one scenario, I cannot trust them to go 3-0 in the slightest. This is possibly the most comfortable pick here. They are not going 3-0. On paper, on the VRS standings, on the players on this roster, they should be going 3-0. If it was a best of 3 like all the way, best of 3s all the way, FaZe would go 3-0 and I wouldn't have a whole lot of doubt in my mind. But the fact that this is best of one scenario, you have to play not only one best of one game, they have to play two best of one games. They're getting fried. They might even go 2-2 in whatever you want to call this composition of teams. So FaZe are absolutely not going 3-0. So, but I still got to make them go through. I would still envision them to go to stage 2. So here they are. They'll make it 3-1, 3-2 in my mind. So that'll be a comfortable pick. Then who do I pick from here? I feel like now this is where I can start going for the 3-0 bracket instead, where I look at probably 3 teams, maybe 4. Game Legion, Bait, Legacy, and Fnatic or Paravision. No, I'm gonna keep it between these 3, and I'm gonna say probably Legacy and Bait out of those ones, because I know Game Legion, they weren't looking the best recently. I know PGL Bucharest, they got 13-1 twice against Aurora, which Aurora, whilst they were playing their A game, I'll give them that. It's probably the best we've seen Aurora in a while. It was also an absolute shit show from Game Legion. And so with that inconsistency there, and with the rumours of 100 Thieves kind of buying out the roster too, I kind of feel like at this point they're also kind of tiptoeing on the edge. So in a best of one scenario, I also don't see them going 3-0. But with Legacy and Bait especially just do have a tendency to flip a switch and fry. Sometimes over longer periods of times, over longer events, they will start to kind of fall off towards the end, have a really strong start, and then fall and trickle back down to the lower ranks towards the end. But Legacy, in my mind, they won CAC as well a couple of weeks ago, which is more than safe for FaZe, who completely bombed out of that one. So yeah, it's going to be Legacy and Bait all the way, and there's not much of a doubt in my mind. Just looking at the opposition here, I mean, even against FaZe, if you put them in a best of one scenario, Legacy and Bait could quite easily be out FaZe almost any day of the week. Almost. I'm gonna leave a little bit of room for error in there, but I will say the benefit of the doubt, Legacy and Bait would win those matchups. Now, this is probably where it starts to get more difficult, in my eyes at least, because we've got the likes of Imperial, FlyQuest, Limvision, Fluxo, MAZ, Red Candid, NRG here, who I do feel like we still haven't seen enough of. I mean, look at the nice MAZ logo back again. I thought NRP were changing theirs for the major, but I guess no. So that's all fun and games. But with these kind of lower tier teams, again, it is a matter of unpredictability. So first of all, I'm putting Gamer Legion, Paravision as well. Paravision were on a tear recently, so I'll put them alongside Fnatic 2, and then NIP in there as well. Yeah, let's go with that. I might change some of these Paravision stuff as well in a bit, but I feel like they've got this. A lot of these teams have that stability there with the kind of great players on their rosters as well. Game Legion, PR, Torsen ZTR, Hypex and Rez. I mean, it's just such a strong lineup at this point compared to some of these other teams. Paravision as well. You got Jame. I can't even remember. I can't actually. I can't bother. I know I've seen a lot of these guys win a lot of kind of ESL Challenger Cups recently, so I do feel like they are prepared enough for the major at least. So they should be putting themselves through. Fnatic as well. We see plenty of them these days. Won that frag event, always pulling off, doing decent stuff. NIP, PGL Bucharest, I think they came last, but I think I remember seeing something about Snappy being ill, maybe, if I'm going to say that. But like I said, these just bog standard, cusping kind of these tier 1 invite range kind of teams. So we do see enough of them. I know Paravision are kind of on that end point, but with how well they've been doing in Challenger Leagues and all that, when it comes to the non-EU teams, I do think they will have that kind of caliber of play and a deeper, more in-depth play style to kind of pull themselves through. So Paravision should be fine there, along the rest of the teams in the bracket they're with. I don't really care about going 3-1 and 3-2. I just think that these guys should be fine. They'll find themselves going this far 100%. Now, this is where it gets more difficult. I've got a couple of teams who could do this. I know Imperial are getting a lot of practice recently. They've been doing a lot of games against a lot of people. FlyQuest have the stage 1 curse. They aren't making it. As much as I would like to see them with JKS on the roster now as well, there could be potential, but with how they've been looking recently too, isn't filling enough confidence to put them there. Doesn't put me with enough confidence to put them side like Game Legion, NIP, and Fnatic as well. Lim Vision we see plenty of as well. We're at Pro League and they do decently. They can take a map off a couple of teams nonetheless, but I feel like in this kind of format as well, going against some of these EU teams, they wouldn't suffice. M80, Fluxo, Red Canids, NRG. Fluxo and Red Canids are making this. Fluxo, I almost kind of hate to look at them at this point because they don't fill me enough joy. I know at the the Austin Major, they went 0-3, and there was a bit of an electronic kind of moment with Art where he was just yelling at his players, which I didn't feel too happy about. So out of just pure spite, he isn't going 0-3 because these teams are worse. They actually did lose Chinggist Warriors last time, so that could put me out of a pick here if that happens again with another Asian team. But Flux aren't making it compared to some of the rest of these guys. I think the highest level of performance actually, hold on a sec, Red Candids, I don't see enough of these guys either. I know they were doing a lot of South American tournaments and bring themselves kind of slowly but surely up in the VRS. And they do have some good games. I mean, they play a lot against Odic, I think, who's kind of another South American team that could have made it, but Red Candids just about took that spot and still just kind of in South America, not going to be doing as well as Legacy or Fury or Pain or MIBR by any means. So probably worse than Imperial as well. So if anything, Imperial's higher than Red Candids, but they still aren't making it. Imperial look too shaky. I mean, with what was it? I think they got Cello and Skulls on the roster, or maybe just one of them. They do look decent, but still not good enough. You took the worst players from Furia and put them onto a roster where they were somehow like decent. I mean, decent is still like a tier 1 tournament once a year, so I wouldn't put high hopes on Imperial. Oh, they made it to the Blast London online qualifiers, or the Blast London online portion through the Rising qualifiers, so it does show they have got a bit of potential behind them, but not enough at a major. So I think this competition is between M80 and NRG, and I think, quite frankly, NRG, whilst they have been slowly but surely kind of building their ways up and showing us more and more what they're capable of, and they do have flashes of brilliance, don't get me wrong, but I do feel like since the previous major with Hex going to M80, it's got to be M80. Just M80 have a higher ceiling and just a greater potential to do these runs. And I know at the Austin Major there was almost the NA curse at least, where all the NA teams just bombed out. But I do think M80 have come really far since then. They got rid of Rec back then, one of their worst players, and they brought in Hex. So I think that upgrade there brings them enough firepower itself just to pull them through. So think I think I'm happy with all these picks, really. I think I'm happy with them. All right, that'll be that. Saved the picks, and when does it start? 7 days, Monday. What the? Here, let me see if I can find what times the first matches are. Am I gonna be able to watch any of the matches? It'd start at 12 o'clock, and then Round two finishes around 8 o'clock. So that's the beauty of it being in Budapest, really. Whilst what is it? The past two majors have been in Asia and North America, so time zone wise, kind of been EU have been screwed either way. So finally, we've got another major back in EU, so I can actually watch them after college or after work or any of that crap that you do during the day. So that's nice to see as well. We'll get to watch some of it. I think that shall be it. Yeah, thanks. I'll see you when stage two comes around. Adios.